Hi guys, today we are going to be learning about adding integers. Remember last week we learned what an integer was, and it was basically just the whole numbers and their opposites, so positive and negative numbers. So today we are going to work on the first step, just like you learned the first step when adding whole numbers, we are going to learn the first step in adding integers. So go ahead and we'll move on to the next slide and get started. So the first method I'm going to teach you is how to add integers on a number line. So we have a couple of things that we need to do. So first thing we need to do is find the first integer on the number line. And then we're going to move the value of the second integer to find the sum. Okay, so let's go ahead and try one out. We're going to add 1 plus 2. Now this might seem very simple to you. This is just adding whole numbers, but we're going to use it to demonstrate how this is done. So we'll find 1 on the number line. Here's 1. And then it says plus 2. So I'm going to add 2, the value of 2 to this 1. So I'm going to add 1 spot, 2 spots. Now this is addition, right? So we will be moving to the right, or our body would be facing the right if we were walking down the number line, okay? So we're moving 2 spots to the right, 1, 2. And so 1 plus 2 equals 3. So let's go ahead and try another one. This time we're going to use one of our opposites, or a negative number. We have negative 1 plus 2. So we're going to do the same basic idea. We're going to start with the first integer. Our first integer is negative 1. So we're starting here. And it says negative 1 plus, negative 2. So I know when I add, I generally move to the right. But when it says negative 2, it's telling me to do the opposite. So I have negative 1. And the opposite of moving to the right is moving to the left. So I'm going to move to the left 2 places. 1, 2. So my answer is negative 3. Now remember, we moved to the left because of this negative sign right here that told us to do the opposite. All right, we're going to try one more. So our last one is asking us to add 1 plus negative 2. So let's go ahead. We're going to mark our first integer is a 1. So let's go ahead and mark 1 right here on my number line. And then it says plus negative 2. Now, once again, it has that negative. So it's telling me to do the opposite. So it's kind of like walking backwards. It wants me to walk backwards too. So 1, 2. So my answer is negative 1. So the big thing to really remember in this is that if the second integer is negative, we're going to be moving in the opposite direction. We're going to be walking backwards if it was us walking up and down this number line. All right, let's move on. So if we don't have a number line to do this, there are a set of rules that we can use. So the first rule is if 2 integers have the same sign, so if they're both positive or both negative, then I'm going to add them and keep the common sign. Common means same, or the one that's same between the two. So if both integers were positive, then my answer would be positive. And if both integers were negative, then my answer would be negative. So let's go ahead and try this out. We have 2 examples. Our first one is 6 plus 5. Well, I know that 6 plus 5 equals 11. So I'm adding the 2 integers up, and then I'm going to keep my common sign. In this case, both parts are positive, therefore my answer is positive. Now, when my answer is positive, I don't actually have to write a plus sign on there. I just know it's positive if there's no sign, okay? Now let's look at the next one. It says negative 6 plus negative 5. Now, once again, they have the same sign. So I know all I have to do is add the absolute value of the integers together. So 6 plus 5 is 11. But this time, because my integers were both negative, I know that my answer is going to be negative. So negative 11 is my answer. Okay, so the next rule says if the two integers have opposite signs, so their signs are not the same, then subtract and keep the sign of the integer with the highest absolute value. So let's go ahead and try that. Right here, we have 6 plus negative 5. I can see that I have a positive integer and a negative integer, so their signs are opposite. So it says that I'm going to subtract. So I'll go ahead and do 6 minus 5 is 1. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 in here. But then how do I know what sign it's going to be? Well, it tells me. You're going to keep the sign of the integer with the highest absolute value. So I have to figure out what the absolute value is for each of those integers. So I know the absolute value of 6 is 6. And the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. So which is larger? Well, 6. And then I look at it and I say, okay, 6 has the highest absolute value and its sign is positive. Therefore, my answer is positive. So we'll do the same thing on the next one. So I have negative 6 plus 5. Once again, I'm just going to do the subtraction. 6 minus 5 equals 1, right? And then I'm going to find the absolute value for each number. So I know the absolute value of negative 6 is 6, and the absolute value of 5 is 5. Well, 6 is larger than 5, so my number with the highest absolute value is negative 6. Notice that the number here is negative, so my answer will be negative. So the answer is negative 1. There is one other thing that you should be aware of, and that is additive inverses. That's like if you have a 6 and a negative 6. We know that 6 plus its opposite or additive inverse, negative 6, is simply going to be 0. And that's the same with any number and its opposite or additive inverse. So keep that in mind as you go throughout today's assignment. Thank you. Bye-bye.